Hello, everybody. I am jack of all trades, but master of none. That's like a nice way of saying I have ADHD and I can't stick to one. So, the irony of today is that you guys are here to listen about listening from a person that has a chronic suffering from being able to listen or pay attention. I've had this all my life, and because of that, I've gotten really good at pretending how to listen. If you're talking to me, I might go like, "Oh, yeah." But I have absolutely no idea what you're saying. We call it zoning out. I know it's not just me, and it's a lot of you guys here. In this day and age of everything that is catered to low attention spans, you know cues of when to say, oh, makes sense, or when to laugh. So, for example, Instagram Reels and algorithms, it has been created to cater to low attention spans, to adapt to it. But in reality, it actually makes it worse. The solution becomes the cause. I call it paradox of solutions. Sometimes when you zone out, what do you really think about? Some of you may get lost in your thoughts, but some of us think about thinking. If you're talking to me, my imagination is like, oh, this person is talking to me, but I'm thinking. At that point, you're thinking about thinking. So there's a word for it. It's called metacognition. Might sound complicated, but it is an innate ability. When you just pause and wonder or listen to that tiny voice in your head, it makes you aware, but sometimes hyper conscious and disassociated. This is our mind speaking to us. But how many of us are able to actually listen to these thoughts in our mind with all the noise and overstimulating surroundings? We have normalized this overstimulation so much that we crave chaos and we're bored with peace. So much that silence makes us uncomfortable. If you walk into a room that is silent, you go, who died? We always want to fill the silent gaps with something. Like when you're driving, you want to blast music. Gadiya, uchiya, chaliya. Why? When you're talking to somebody, you want to fill those gaps with, then say, what's up? Out of fear that the silence might make things awkward. But why? We go to the countryside or the mountains. We say, wow, this is beautiful. It's so peaceful. But 4 days in, you're already going crazy. I can't be here. You start craving that chaos and noise that you're so used to. And yet, you call this an escape when you travel. But the truth is, this is where you're ideally supposed to be. It is your habitat. It is closest to your natural state of being. You just don't know it yet. That's why it all looks so beautiful and soothing to the senses. The human body is very adaptive. Whatever you put it through, it gets used to. Even dysfunction can start feeling normal, and it gets really hard to get out of it. And yet, we call this dysfunctional world a reality and an ideal world an escape. We're a generation of people that need an alarm to even drink water. Think about it. That is how less we listen to our own bodies. And that is how much this dysfunctional world has dampened our own natural instincts. I travel for a living, but when I first started, I just wanted to go see places. I wanted to click pictures, come back, get back into my routine, a routine that I never had to begin with. But then I realized if I come back a little changed, that is only when I've traveled right. One time we drove to this very isolated village in Himachal called Chatru. Here, there is no network, no Wi Fi, no internet. You have electricity from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Here, your phone is just a brick. You throw it, sit down with people, talk, go on day hikes. Drink water from the streams with your head down, sit down and listen to the birds, listen to the wind. As pleasant as this may sound, I know you and I would go crazy here. And that is exactly the problem. We don't let ourselves be bored anymore. We desperately want to try to fill it with dopamine, endless scrolling, play, watching something, consume all of this data. And the scary part is how accessible it all is. When was the last time you just sat down and did nothing? No phone, no Netflix, no loud music, just sat and wondered in silence. A lot of things in this world, a lot of ideas, maybe businesses, a lot of inventions were not created in a boardroom meeting. It happened because of a moment of sitting and wondering, maybe. So do it sometime for hours if you have to. Listen to your mind. I don't know how many of us did this as a kid, but when I was small, I'd just sit and look at ants for hours. I wasn't trying to learn anything, but I had no overstimulating surroundings. I was just there, present in that moment. But now I know a lot about ants. One thing I did not know is that I'd be using that in a talk someday. So sit down, wonder, imagine.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you tried. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Yeah, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. But I hope someday you can join us, and the world will live as one.
I didn't bring this guitar today to just seem cool. I wanted to share something as well. Let's get a little nerdy. So, what is music in terms of physics? It's nothing but multiple different notes of particular frequencies that complement each other. These notes complement each other. And by complement each other, I mean they converge. These frequencies are such that they converge at intervals. So that is what creates a soothe to our ears. If I play a note and I play another note, these are of different frequencies. And multiple different frequencies that converge like this forms a chord. And multiple different chords form music. Just like people, I say I resonate with him, I resonate with his thoughts. That means we all function at different frequencies, but we do converge at some point. So, even before we knew what physics was, we knew art. So, what is art? You can say that art is something that soothes one's senses. It is something that always existed in nature. So, what is music in nature? Chirping of birds, the sound of falling water droplets. What is the first thing that a child draws in school? It's the scenery, right? It's a place that is ideal, something, a place that soothes our senses. So, art always existed. We didn't create it. We just learned this, understood it, and made it artificially to enhance this soothing experience. We are not apart from nature, we are just extensions of it. And the soul is the medium through which nature speaks and art is created. So, listen to your soul. That is why we sometimes say that song touched my soul. Art can also be a form of expression. You're dancing, dance, your body is expressing, right? Like acting. You know what makes a good actor a great one is not how well he delivers the line, but how well he listens, how well he conveys through the silences between the lines. So, listening and conveying are not entirely in lines, but also between them. Huddle up. We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we're members of the human race. And the human race is filled with a passion. Business, law, medicine, and engineering are all noble pursuits. But art, poetry, love, romance is what keeps us alive. That's not me, that's Robin Williams. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Expression, conveyance. What is our medium of conveyance? Language, right? I was in Vietnam for almost a month, and a lot of people before I traveled told me that there is a huge language barrier issue. In my experience, there was a good amount of conveying, listening, understanding. In spite of this issue, there was a lot of happiness, kindness, laughter, and smiles. Maybe that's why. People may just use this language barrier as an excuse to not connect with the world. So for me, language barrier did not feel like much of an issue, but more like a part of the experience. Because for all I know, I may have connected with these people more than I did with people that understood my language. That is when I realized, while language is a beautiful thing that we've created, it is limited. But thought and expression is limitless. We have so many misunderstandings and disputes, especially amongst people who love each other, who speak the same language. The problem is we restrict our thoughts to fit into these limitations that we have created. We assign multiple different definitions to boxes of words. So people have different definitions assigned to the same word. My definition of the word, let's say perspective or even listening, may differ from yours. That's why we often use the phrase for lack of a better word, especially in philosophy, right? We hear, we listen, we also comprehend. But verbal language is not a strong enough tool for conveyance of one's emotions. Two bodies still convey what words cannot. It requires love, togetherness, and listening. Listening not to the words, but to the silence. Silence in each other's company. I know I spoke about a lot of different things today, kept jumping from one topic to another because, ADHD. But I don't want to use that as an excuse anymore. And maybe the point was not to make any sense at all or to stay on topic. Maybe the point was to see how well we all listen, not just to the words, but to the silent gaps. So, from this day forward, I hope you and I develop this ability to actually listen. Listen to someone when they're talking to us and not just pretend and nod. Listen even when you don't understand the language. Listen to the world. Listen to ants. But before all of that, I hope you listen to yourself, listen to your body, your mind, your soul, but most of all, listen to your heart. That's me. I'm Vishak. If you remember, we- jack of all trades, but master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one because I always listen to my heart. Arigato gozaimasu. Dhanyawad. Shukriya and thank you.